All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
Welcome back to the X Zone, everyone. My name is Rob McConnell, coming to you from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. If you'd like to send us an email, xzone@xzoneradiotv.com, on all social media sites, Xzone Radio TV. And our main website is www.xzoneradiotv.com. This hour, we're going to be talking about astrology here in the X Zone. Jeff Harman is our special guest, and he's an astrologer and a spiritual consultant. He's a second-hand or second-generation astrologer. He's not a second-hand astrologer. He's a second-generation astrologer and spiritual consultant with over 38 years' experience. Jeff teaches how conscious self-awareness can lead us to and out of the matrix of our karmic past, which is revealed by the ancient practices of astrology. He has spent many years in Beverly Hills and has a client list in all areas of the entertainment industry. People from around the world consult with him for his personal and business needs. Let me see. Jeff is a member of the Council on Vedic Astrology, the American Federation of Astrologers, and the National Center for Geocosmic Research. He utilizes classical, Vedic, Kabbalistic, and astrolocation astrology. His website, www.jeffharman.com, and that's JEFFHARMAN.com. And Jeff, welcome back to the X Zone. Great having you back with us.
You bet. Well, thank you, Rob.
Now, Jeff, you've been cited, not only in your newsletters, but in others, that there may be some serious issues coming up in the next several years, particularly this year. Now, could you elaborate on some of the details that astrology shows for 2014?
Yeah, I can. We're in the throes right now of a series, and when we say a series, it's a series of aspects that have been going on ever since the fall of 2012. Essentially, it's an economic and I would say very disruptive energy, and the problem is it peaks out into what we call a grand cross. A grand cross is something where we have a series of planets, usually 4 or more, that form a cross in the sky, and that means they're opposed and squaring each other. So it looks just like a cross in terms of the Earth's perspective from that point. But what it means in plain English is it's a very powerful energy that's stirring up things in the world. And I can tell you that economically, we don't hear a lot about that on our news stations, the mainstream news, but I can tell you there's a lot of things going on. I've had many knowledgeable clients in the financial sectors telling me just how disruptive it is. And also notice the weather patterns, how kooky it's been. We have had weather patterns definitely here in the U.S., Canada, and actually around the globe that are very unusual. It's a very late spring this year. You notice that?
Yeah, I have, but I also noticed that the pollution is going up and that global warming is a reality. So I equate what the changes are into the ignorance of humanity to accept the fact that, hey, we're screwing up everything. Global warming is real, and if we don't get off our butts and do something about it, we're just going to smuck this planet out.
Yeah, well, we could. You bet. One thing's for sure, the pollution's not helping anything. But, this series, we have a very powerful energy coming in this April, and it's going to line up right around the 21st, 22nd of this year, and we've got some real powerful trigger points coming in this summer, too.
Interesting. Jeff, how did you get started in astrology?
How did I get started in it? Oh, boy, that's a long story.
I'll
make it short.
Make it as short so it fits under a minute.
Yeah. Well, what I would tell you is back in the 60s, I used to see my mother having medical astrology sitting around on the kitchen table.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the 70s, she started telling me about which girlfriend I had and how exactly she was in her trait. And I said, what are you doing here? So I got very interested in it, and that's how I learned it, was from my mother originally. And then I got off into science quite a bit here in the late 70s, early 80s. I was doing electronics and physics and acoustical research, and I did a lot of forensics work for various state and government agencies. And I had astrology parallel in my life, and it was probably in about the mid-'80s where I really started getting a lot of ancient documents and found that it is very scientific if you analyze it in that light.
All right, Jeff, stand by. You and I have to take a commercial break. We'll be back in 2 minutes. Exonation, Jeff Harman is our special guest. He's an astrologer and a spiritual consultant. His website is www.jeffharman.com. This is the X Zone. We're coming to you live and around the world on the X Zone Broadcast Network from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Email xzone@xzoneradiotv.com, all social media networks, X Zone Radio TV, and our website, www.xzoneradiotv.com. I'll be back on the other side of this 2-minute break. Don't go away. With each new extreme weather event or terrorist act, it becomes increasingly obvious that we live in uncertain and challenging times. We all buy car insurance. Why not collapse and catastrophe insurance? Matthew Stein, an MIT-trained engineer and green builder, has written 2 outstanding books to help people prepare, plan for, and deal with everything from minor situations lasting a few days to full-on collapse. Matt's first book, When Technology Fails, is a manual for self-reliance, sustainable living, and surviving the long emergency. This massive book covers the gamut from first aid and emergency preparedness to alternative healing, renewable energy, primitive living skills, and 18th century technologies that could be critical to your comfort and survival in a long-lasting crisis. Matt's second book, When Disaster Strikes, is a comprehensive emergency preparedness handbook and survival guide. When Disaster Strikes is an essential item for every family's go bag. Both books are available at all usual sources. There's a wealth of totally free information posted at whentechfails.com, and author-signed copies may be purchased at mattstein.com. That's www.whentechfails.com and www.mattstein.com. Named one of the world's greatest psychics, Elizabeth Joyce is now giving readings worldwide via Skype. Elizabeth Joyce is recognized for her clairvoyant ability to help find missing persons, her analysis of dreams, past life regression work, mediumship, and her accurate predictions. Elizabeth has been a frequent guest on the X Zone radio show with yours truly, Rob McConnell, now for several years. For an appointment with Elizabeth Joyce, call 201-934-8986 or Skype at elizabeth.joyce. And for more information, you can always visit Elizabeth Joyce online at www.new-visions.com.
Do you have a dis-ease that you would like to alleviate through a natural means? Have you been contacted by angels, ghosts, or even extraterrestrials and want to validate these experiences? Or would you simply like to speak with someone who can help you find your life's purpose? I'm Dr. Joseph Mara, and I'm offering my services free of charge for first-time clients contacting me during the month of April. These free consultations include angel card readings, guided meditations, life coaching, and energy healing. If you have always wanted to explore these types of experiences but were skeptical or simply could not afford them, then take advantage of this free special offer. Contact me through my website, a guiding light spelled LITE.com to schedule your consultation today. Until then, I offer you love, light, and laughter.
It's a revolution! Get down on your knees and show some appreciation.
Welcome back to the X Zone. www.xzoneradiotv.com is our website. And our guest this hour is Jeff Harman. He's an astrologer and a spiritual consultant. Jeff, is there any way to examine the astrology of the world or for the world?
Yeah, you were mentioning a minute ago how I got started on this, and I'll just wrap up real quickly with, I found so much history in ancient astrology, which is so much more scientific than modern astrology in a lot of ways. Now, modern astrology has some virtues, there's no question, but there's a very interesting systems that seem to come up out of Egypt, India, the Holy Land, and into the medieval. And one of the systems that they used to examine the astrology for the world was something called the Great Conjunctions. And clearly, secret societies, certain ones, have maintained this. And probably some people call it a Ptolemaic tradition. Ptolemy was a king in Egypt and who had penned much of the ancient knowledge. And one of the astrology's techniques to examine when society would change or when the world would change are the Great Conjunctions. And this is when Jupiter and Saturn conjoin in very specific points in the zodiac. Well, the main one is almost 1,000 years. It's about 960 to 980 years. And it's not necessarily based on the years. It's based on the time that it happens or when it happens. Well, the last one that we had was in 1702. And that was really the ushering in of the modern era. If you examine history, that is very close to when steam was invented. The Industrial Revolution took off right after that, and we've been on an upward scale ever since. Well, in fact, the whole New World, if you want to call it that, the whole North American continent was basically formed in terms of organized, and of course then you had the whole ramp up of modern technology, mass production, etc. And I can certainly say we're a little farther right now than we were in 1702. And I don't think it's going to stop. Well, the next major conjunction, it's called the mutation conjunction or a sub-period, is exactly the winter solstice of 2020. And I had a lot of people asking me several years ago what I thought of the Mayan calendar ending. And I don't want to demean that, but I never found anything. And I said, I can't come up with anything that would signify a change with the Mayan calendar ending. And really, it hasn't. We've seen how many Hollywood movies and how much fear and prediction and trepidation. The alarmists have been, pushing the buttons for years on that. I was like, Y2K. Well, the one, and I'm not pushing an alarmist button either on 2020, but I can tell you the world as we know it is very likely to turn a page. A new chapter is coming. And that clearly is exactly on the winter solstice of 2020. And that's when Saturn and Jupiter conjoin in what they call a new element. So that hasn't happened for 240-something years.
So, Jeff, am I to understand that you are saying that what should have happened, or what many were predicting that would happen on December the 21st, 2012, is actually going to happen 8 years later on December the 21st, 2020?
No, because I wouldn't say what they predicted is going to happen. What I am saying is that the great conjunctions in astrology show that this is a major marker point in the world, if you will.
Okay.
And I think where we're heading is new economic systems are going to come in. The old ones are certainly crumbling. I think we're going to see technology explode. Of course, it has been exploding, but I think it's going to continue to explode. If you remember, back in the 60s and the 50s, the cartoons were, had us flying around in jetpacks and little cars like in the Jetsons by
Right.
the 1980s. Well,